We are live. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of Ball Over Passion. If you're new here, welcome. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to take. Everyone's kind of deflated, especially going so hard on the preview. I think a lot of the boys were really confident. It's a tough one to break down. I think I had a very different perspective because I couldn't catch the game live. I was in clinic, and so I had to do the rewatch. I saw the score. I saw the meltdown as I'm coming home from work, and um, the game was very interesting. Um, I think Mikel did have a very good overview of the game in terms of it being taken away. But I think there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about. I wasn't totally happy with Mikel when we go through the lineups. I did get pretty worried. I didn't agree with the change that we saw. But in the game, I think ultimately, mate, um, it's something that you got to put in the past if we're going to achieve our objectives this season. But ultimately, when you're looking at the isolation of the game, emotions got the best of, I think, both our manager but our players, and
All of
it kind of
us.
spiraled. And all of us, all of it. It's an emotional game, and
Yeah.
it's a tough one to talk about. But we're here. We got to try to do it. So bear with us, guys. We hope to maybe provide some reason for why things fell apart, what we can do to change it, and then looking ahead maybe to Newcastle really quickly. But yeah, I'm kind of, you got to put this stuff in the rear view. It would have been nice to give the end of the season, but this is Arsenal. We don't do that. We never make it easy for ourselves.
Nope.
And it's excellent Amazon documentary stuff, isn't it? It's
That
wonderful.
it is.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Kern, mate, how are you doing post game and the fallout? And I don't know. I don't want to like talk about the trolls necessarily, but how are you doing in terms of like post um, putting it to the last day, right? Like, I mean, unless Burnley and MJ becomes a smooth criminal, um, you know, there's no way that we're going to be able to
Uh,
have this towards the end of the season. But yeah,
I feel a lot better now. I feel a
do
lot better
you?
now.
I,
Now
I
that
had to,
that's happened.
guys. That's the last time. Courtesy stat.
Yeah.
I had to get this
I
to
needed
say.
that. I needed that.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. In terms of the game, look, it's a tough one. And look, mate, Conte actually complained about losing to
No,
Burnley and said he
I'm not
wasn't good
hearing
enough.
that.
Like
Conte
like I'm not
Conte
hearing
wasn't
Conte.
complaining.
Conte's a bitch himself. Okay, calm.
Conte
Like
lost at
he's
Burnley, and he complained about the how tall his grass was at his own stadium. I'm not having
exactly
that. Maybe
not
we, you
having
know
it.
what? Let's build there because that's kind of post fallout of the Derby. What do you make? Because there's an entire column by Sam Dean, the idiot, who's going off about Arteta complaining. And look, all managers complain in the lead up to this FA Cup final. We've had Tuchel complaining about Liverpool. You've had
Yeah,
managers. A lot of big time managers are complaining. It's a lot of passive aggressive little stances. And you know what I don't understand is you've got Mikel after all that Conte said, after everything that he did in the post match, he had the complete right response. I'm focused on Newcastle. That's what you got to be in terms of, and I'm sure we'll get our licks in when when the season's done and we're outlining our objectives. But there's a lot of passive aggressive complaining flying around. I'm
oh no, no, no,
definitely
no, not just
not
passive aggressive, incredibly aggressive complaining. And the thing is,
incredibly.
for, for me, the annoying thing that I'm seeing, not only from the media but our fans as well, is this huge inability to just stay with the course. Every
Mm.
time this team has had a setback, they get up. I know sometimes it's taken more than one game, sometimes it's taken 2 games or 3 games or whatever. But if you look at this team has an incredible ability to bounce back. This manager is managing one of the not one of the youngest team
The
in the squad,
youngest.
and he's doing a great job of it. I don't care what anyone says. Um, and the other thing is, look, if you're looking at in terms of where we are in this top four race, everyone has turned to, oh, it's Spurs to lose now. They are 1 point behind us. They have Burnley tomorrow, right? They have to go and beat them. They have to go to Norwich and beat them, and obviously they should beat Norwich. But I've seen this Spurs team lose to all sorts of teams. So why would I be saying, oh, 100% they'll get 6 points? It
Mate,
doesn't make any
ultimately,
sense.
a season calendar never lies. And
Yeah,
if they were to do to get one over on us, you have to hold your hands up and say fair play. They
yeah,
deserved it because they earned it. That is simply what it is at. But in terms
100%.
of it being Spurs's and who has the momentum, that's ridiculous because ultimately both teams are facing teams in the bottom half of the table, and it's ultimately going to come down to, which I've been saying all season, how consistent can you be against teams outside the top six? That is ultimately what it's coming down to. The next two games, they're not rivals. Okay. Despite rivals playing now, they're 1 point behind us, and both teams have teams that are close to the relegation or relegated. So for us, it's very, very simple. Newcastle might be safe, but it's their last home game, right? Burnley battling for their lives. Norwich already relegated. Do they want to leave a little extra in the Premier League with no pressure? Potentially. Then there's Everton, who we don't know could be relegated. These are two teams right now that just ultimately have to put up and shut up. And I
Exactly.
think the best thing that I like to look at is it takes a big man to talk when you're behind. Um, and it's very easy to talk when you're ahead. So nothing changes for me in terms of the fallout. I don't understand. I'm with you. I think it's people being weak-minded. It's the same individuals online that are turning on the team that will say things like now it's in Tottenham's favor. I really don't understand this. Just factually, until a team is ahead of you, it's not in their favor. You're still in charge.
Yeah,
That's how math works. And ultimately, we just got to do the business. You beat Newcastle, you beat Everton, our last home game of the season, by the way. You're in the Champions League. It's that simple. We're in a semifinal, we're in a final. That that's
exactly.
it. And whoever wins deserves the props. Whoever wins deserves the glory. But that is it. There's no other way to spin it. And anyone else saying anything more than 50-50 at this point, for me, is talking out their ass. And I still think I'm very confident for us in doing it, but ultimately we got to do the business. And um, maybe that kind of transitions us to the game itself. So let's kind of highlight the lineups, because I'm not going to lie, mate. I see the lineups when I'm in clinic. I'm worried. I'm not a fan of the changes that we did,
Me neither.
especially in the back line, especially the matchups that we had. And it could actually lend us to Newcastle, because I've had a lot of debates in group chats about what people would do. And maybe we can talk about it, but I wanted to get your first opinions. You see the lineup. Are you confident? And, of course,
No,
everybody in the
hell
comment, you
no.
guys let us know. Are you confident with that solution that we did? I know that it's kind of too bad that Ben White couldn't get himself up for the game, but um, what do you make of kind of that lineup of Tommy left back, Cedric right back, and namely Son versus Cedric? Which, by the way, we're going to have a very similar discussion on the Newcastle preview with Alan St. Maximin
Yeah,
versus a potential Cedric or whoever's at right back. And then you've got Holding in his natural position, but then you've got Tommy left back. What did you make? He basically went Leeds, um, essentially.
yeah.
Um, what did you make of the lineup? Were you happy? Were you sad? Somewhere in the middle. What did you think?
I mean, sad is not exactly the word I'd use, but concerned. I was
Mm,
concerned because of the Cedric versus Son. I was concerned because you had Kane basically able to roam into that right half space and go one on one with Holding, like basically like Chelsea at
mm,
in the beginning of the season. You had a we had a weak side, and when you have a weak side, it's easy to exploit. Like if you notice that throughout the entire game, Kulusevski didn't really do much. It was all down that right side because Tommy is a warrior. He is someone that you can't down one on one. You can't just beat him one on one like that. He will put his foot in and he will win his aerial duels. All their joy came down that right side, all of it. And
mm,
the first two goals, obviously we're going into it, but the first goal, obviously Cedric, second goal in that poor defending off a set piece. I think a lot of it, we were talking about this off stream, was to do with too much emotion in this game. I think we went in there just like battle cry, we have to win this, let's just finish this and get on the beach. But in terms of the lineup itself, Holding and Cedric, you can't have one area of the pitch where you can be attacked. And the same thing goes up front. You can isolate Martinelli. Me and you were saying to this to me off just before we started. You can isolate Martinelli out wide. if you had Emil coming inside, you can have more rotation inside. You can have runners off the ball. You can have people flooding the box. You can have that space between the lines as well. So playing ESR, not playing ESR, I mean, instead of Marseille and having Holding, even if you say you wanted to go Tommy and Gabriel, I would have preferred that than just Holding and Gabriel. The only way we play Holding is if we have a three at the back. Holding three at the back, perfectly calm, don't mind. But holding in a two, it just doesn't work. It's he's too aggressive in his duels when he gets up front. He's a great box defender, and if you put him in a place where he has to hit his man early, he's gonna get in trouble like he did for the two yellow
No,
cards.
Rob Holding is a deficient player that thrives in one specific game state. That's why I like to call these players finishers, because they're not good enough to start a specific game. They're not adaptable to multiple positions or formations, but they're really good for one specific game state. But this wasn't it. And a lot of people were commenting online. It was very clear that it was suggestion from Mikel to be tight to Son on Rob Holding. Now, I'm
Mhm.
not actually mad at that instruction. What I'm mad at is the person doing that job. That should have been Tommy for me.
Exactly.
So
That
it's
should have
not
been
the
Tommy.
fact it's not the fact that the assignment was wrong. It was who was doing the assignment. And this is what I was trying to tell everybody kind of in the preview when we were looking at it. And when you were looking, the reason let's talk why Rob Holding, by the way, works in the middle of a three. Okay. Because the wide center backs are the aggressors. Rob
Yep.
Holding never has to step outside the box. Even in a
Again,
back
box
three,
defender.
he's
Yeah.
always he's always though Kern, he anchors that three. Like
Hmm.
the reason why he thrives in a back three is because he's not asked to do the same job. If you're in a two, you're asked to step outside the box. That's part of the job requirement of it. And therefore his role changes. He's no longer sat deep defending aerial balls coming in. He's no longer the one that has to be front footed to meet his marker. He doesn't have to go and step into midfield. He can stay in the box. He can dictate. That's the job of the wide center back. And so that's
Yeah.
why, for me, asking somebody who doesn't thrive in that role to go and meet players in wide isolation was like a very rookie mistake. I'm sorry. Like, I was really upset with Mikel. And for me, there was a lot of debate online. Well, George, if you put Tommy at right back and you're forced to put Cedric or Nuno at left back, aren't you worried about Kulusevski? Well, I'm sorry. Kulusevski is the worst attacker out of the three. My primary concern
Yeah.
is going to be Son and Harry Kane. Now, and the
100%.
reason why, Curran, I'm really going hard on this is because this is the exact same thing that's going to happen with Newcastle, by the way. Okay. Do Newcastle have other threats on both right and left? They do. Which is the worst threat? Alan St. Maximin. Where is he? On the left-hand side.
Yep.
Therefore, even if you have a back line that is not ultimately great, how do you fix it? You put your best 1v1 defender against their best outlet. When you have a team that isn't good in build-up, which, by the way, none of the tactical instructions on the preview is wrong. Spurs are a poor team, one-dimensional, very poor build-up. All of these things were still true. In fact, we got done by set pieces, which we're ironically very, very good at, poor
Yep.
refereeing decisions. Again, I don't think were the narrative of the game, but ultimately they changed the emotion of the game, and our tactics flew out the window. But I think sometimes as coaches, especially coaches like Mikel, who do have a tendency to overthink things, forget some of the basics. And for me, Son was their biggest outlet, their biggest threat. And I wanted our best 1v1 defender on that boy. Our best 1v1 defender to go and man mark him in wide spaces, because Son was never going to be a threat from a box perspective. It was always outside the box coming in. And we don't have very many players that defend wide well. Even Ben White, mate. If he was fit, he still could get done if he's aggressive outside. In fact, I think that's something he can improve on in wide spaces. Ben White can be a little bit too aggressive. He can get done out wide. But Tommy is excellent there. And by the way, Tommy had an excellent game at, left back. I think if you really had somebody that you could highlight from an Arsenal perspective, for me, Tommy was our man. In that game, there weren't too many. I think Martinelli, ironically, had a really good game individually, but he was just very peripheral. But just to circle back to that kind of lineup kind of critique that we saw, I'm not upset at the game plan to step to Son quickly. That is actually a good game plan. The who is the problem. It had
Yeah.
to be Tommy Astu,
100%. Had to be.
somebody that was comfortable wide, somebody that was comfortable in aerial duels. And sorry, Karim, mate, like one last thing. Kulusevski was never going to be a threat coming in or out to in the box. He was always going to stand up and cross. The attack and the goal was always going to come down the left. It was always going to do that because Emerson is too poor in the final third. And the first goal basically had that. So I think to me, to put basically Holding in a really poor position that he's not going to thrive in, and then leave out your best 1v1 defender against their best 1v1 attacker is suicide. It's really poor. And for
Yeah.
me, that's what worried me from the start. Forgetting Cedric for a second, it was just so poor. That boy, for me, his confidence is shot. I really think that we can't trust him in these moments, and especially away from home. We have certain away day players. I know people don't want to hear it. Odegaard didn't get involved in the game. Saka made some really nice driving runs. Martinelli tried his best. I think Eddie put himself about, but the pivot wasn't great. Granite played
Nope.
a lot higher because Tommy was left back and he was out of the game. He was
And there
left
were times
high.
when he was trying to go into the three as well. He was trying to rotate. He was dropping into the three a
Mhm.
lot. He was going higher as well. He wasn't just in the middle. In terms of what's happening at Newcastle, we'll get into it. Don't worry. But in terms of the pivot, I think that's a major thing because a lot of this game for me, and it can be summed up in a very simple way, is a lot more zone. We went too zonal and we didn't mark our men. And we went too far into, we overthought it. We thought, okay, everyone stick to in the block. We just went, okay, stick to your zone in the block, 4-4-2. We don't change our game. Just keep calm, and just do your thing. And in attack, we kept with the granite high tactic and had Marcelli out wide and try to isolate him so he can create from wide. And I feel like we just thought, okay, we are going to impose ourselves on this Tottenham team instead of thinking, okay, what are the threats of the Tottenham team and adapt to those threats. Because if we had done that, there was a way to win this game. We just get a draw. I think once the red card happens and the penalty happens, obviously these things change and the mood of the game changed. But even at half time, I don't know about you, when at half time, I mean, if you'd watched it live, I think for me, the next goal was crucial. If we could have nicked one back just after half time, there might have been a chance there because 2-0 is never a safe score, and there were opportunities for us in that first half. Um,
We
I
didn't
think,
make the most of our chances, particularly Odegaard had several cutbacks. Like we'll get into each game state, but there were several times that Odegaard was found at the top of the box, and he does well to keep it on target, but he doesn't trouble the keeper through any of our cutbacks, and that's really quite frustrating. But I think ultimately for me, like the biggest thing in those first 20 minutes, we played quite well. And I know that kind of gets lost on people because of what happened afterwards. But there was about a 7-minute period where basically Holding lost his head for me, and in between that goal and that red card is where that game was lost,
yeah,
because that's kind of where the momentum got sucked out. And we'll definitely talk about those individual game states, but really the biggest thing was in those first 20 minutes we actually were containing the threat quite well, but ultimately it came down to defending a box moment where, for me, if you just had switched the assignments, and again, you talk about going zonal current and like with going man marking, I think the general idea to go man marking on Kane and Son was there. But the issue was Mohamed El Neni was the one on Kane. I don't think he did a great job, but he was doing okay.
yeah.
I don't think
I
there
mean,
was a
that
big
was
issue.
what we said it had to be happen anyway. I
It
think
had to happen.
that was the if it was Partey, obviously he would have preferred it, but he's not
Yeah.
available. We had Mo there, and Mo was he. I think he understood the assignment, but I think he was too cautious. I don't think he wanted to hit Kane enough. I think he was too
Yeah.
cautious and let him drift deep at it too much. In terms of um, Son, we've gone into plenty of times. I think for now,
It
I
was
think we should
Rob.
get
Rob
yeah,
was the 1v1
yeah,
on
Rob
Son, and that was the
for sure.
problem. If you
Yeah,
switch
100%.
that with essentially keep Rob deep and you make Tommy do that, and by the way, that would force Nuno high. Like if you were to play that scenario, I think guys, we have a very different conversation where who is our left wing that's playing, and our left back is accordingly the one. So if ESR is playing, Nuno is the one that has to play. If Martinelli is playing, then unfortunately it has to be an inverted left back, whether that's Tommy or Cedric coming inside. Those are how it works because again, Martinelli and Nuno are far too insecure on the ball to be on the same side as each other, so they can't be together, and they also get
Mm.
in each other's way a little bit. So the biggest thing is if you make that decision that you wanted to go with Martinelli and somebody up top, I was afraid because then that meant, okay, they're going to have to do an inverted left back solution. Now, I was hoping that was going to be Cedric because once again, for me, Kulusevski was always going to cut in onto his favored left foot and do an instant winging cross. He never takes people on the outside, and he's not quick enough to really burn you. So for me, even if you wanted to put Cedric, I wouldn't have done it personally. But even if you did, it was a better mismatch Cedric versus Kulusevski than Cedric versus Son.
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to for me.
I,
And
I,
I
I
think
still think we should have gone
Mikel,
Tommy and Tavares. I
I
think we should have
still
gone.
do, but even if you wanted, let's say we're wrong and that was the wrong solution, and you wanted to keep Martinelli for form for whatever reason, say ESR wasn't fit. The biggest issue I had was putting Cedric on Son and making the
Had
decision that
yeah,
Tommy would be at left back because that for me then would get Granite high. When you put Tommy in that inverted solution, that pushes Granite high where he's
but
not
it
useful.
was more Cedric on Sessegnon though, because Holding was on Son, and that's where the mismatch occurred, and he just got burnt for pace, and he got for someone who's meant to be one of our oldest players, he had one of the most immature performances
But that's
I've
part of the
seen.
problem that I've got, mate, because when we actually start analyzing, and I've seen a lot of tropes online about this young teen crumbled under pressure. Well, no, it was actually the experienced head that crumbled under
Yeah,
pressure. Rob Holding, ultimately, I know people don't want to hear it. He's one of the most experienced players in our squad, especially at least with Arsenal. And by the way, the most experienced player in a derby right now. If you're looking at it from, it's between him and Granit Xhaka are the two in the squad that have had the most experiences with derbies, not necessarily playing, but been part of the squad. So
mm.
I think that's why he felt that he needed to go and have him. And between him and Cedric, he may have made the decision. Oh, maybe Rob has a better understanding of pressure. He did something similar with Diego Costa a couple years back. At
Yeah,
2014 was it FA Cup? He did a phenomenal
but
job
it's
there.
2014, mate.
Yeah, and
So
he's done a job sometimes, but my biggest issue is ultimately when you've got their best player, put your best defender. Like I know it's simple analysis. Let's match up, okay? And when Cedric is high like that, of course that role change kind of switches. But for me, it had to be Tommy. We had to put Tommy there. We didn't. So, anyways, we got to get into the game because we talked about the lineups to death. But I think that was the big tactical error in this game. And when we do get to Newcastle, guys, like it's going to be the same discussion. Alan St. Maximin is your biggest threat on the left. Who are you going to match up with them? Even with injuries, and let's say Gabriel can't make it, and we put, Tommy and White as your center back duo, right? Who are you going to put against Alan St. Maximin? That's going to be the decision that you're going to have to do. If Gabriel's fit and we have the same team to choose from, who are you going to put on Alan St. Maximin? I'm not putting Tommy left back inverted. I really am not. I'm putting my best 1v1 defender against their best 1v1 outlet. And so for me, ultimately, I really have trouble when everybody critiques the team for experience because the young guns never let us down. Like
yeah,
in general, the young guns don't. And it's actually these experienced players that constantly let us down, whether it's Cedric, we're talking about Cedric, we're talking about Holding, sometimes we're talking about Mo, sometimes we're talking about Granite. Very few times are we talking about the young guns costing us games. And that's not to say that that is impossible, but I think we've had this problem for almost a decade in this team. And the
yep.
biggest thing that I'm recruiting this year, not only are we recruiting big starters, but I really want to recruit experienced starters because we need to replace that in the team. But mate,
We
we
don't have
kind
it.
of
I
got to
think this
go.
season has learned. We've learned a lot. I think this team has learned a lot this year, but it does need that. The Man City Fernandinho, the Liverpool Milner,
Mm.
the. I mean, he's not good anymore. But what Chelsea had with Aspilicueta for a while, like it needs that experienced pro to just gel everything together. What company was, etc. These kinds of things. But like for me, I think we should get into the first 20 minutes and just talk about how. Am I? Can you hear me?
Again, yeah, you're all good.
No, no, but I'm talking about. I can hear me from you, I think.
Oh no, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's get into the first 20 minutes because I think the issue is I feel a lot of people are underplaying how dominant we were in that first 20 minutes. We really did put it to them, and there were really good opportunities. Eddie was pressing Lloris like we asked.
Hmm.
I think there was real opportunities. I think I was a bit miffed with this 1-3 when he was kind of just putting everyone just to match up against their defenders instead of going, our normal 1-2, hit the DM hard like we always like. I think he overthought that press. Like we didn't go ball side, we just went central and just sort of the three men behind Eddie would just press onto their centre backs. I think that was a bit of a mistake because it allowed more space in transition behind
I
because
think
you're just committing an extra man there.
we kind of switched our press, right? Like we were kind of talking about it off air, where I know you said that we went 1-3, but it was almost like a 2-3 because Shaka would step up so often with Odegaard, and then the
Yeah,
front three
yeah.
would really press together. So you had Martinelli and Kedia and Saka that were really in that U, but then in central areas off the ball, you have Granit Xhaka really step up high and Martin Odegaard be in this two little central pillar. Now the first
Mm,
thing that was kind of happening, and we were doing it actually quite well. Like I think we were forcing them in their U shape quite well.
yeah.
And then in possession, I don't know if people saw, Granite did drop back, and when we had a 2-3-5, he dropped back, and actually Tommy went high a couple times, and that was
Hmm.
actually the first joy. I think it was at the 15-minute mark. Tommy is found in like a little bit of an advanced area, makes a really sharp turn. I think it's around the 15-minute mark, and he releases Martinelli in a beautiful blindside pass. Well, not
Yeah.
blindside. I mean, it's an out to in run, really simple. Granite plays those passes quite a bit. In behind, I think it was Emerson who was wide trying to defend, and it's beautiful. Martinelli's attacking the box, right? And this is the chance for me. I think Martin and who is crashing the box has to get in front of Ben Davies there. And at the
Mm.
beginning, we camped them in.
We
I
got
think
caught. They got caught on their heels. The runners got caught on their heels. I feel by that Martinelli run. I feel like they just started
they
too
did.
late. And the other thing is the ironic thing is Tommy was in a position that we've seen Nuno in time and time again.
Mm.
That's his bread and butter, running out to in, coming inside, making that sort of. You remember the Newcastle goal earlier in the season, like making that kind of one touch pass into space, and that released Saka to get a goal, a chance on goal. But at this time, it was Tommy, and I just feel I'm so I I don't rate Tavares like he's amazing, but I do think that he could have provided the exact role that Tommy was doing, and Tommy could have been on the right. And it's really frustrating me because I think that you need to put players in their natural positions at times like this. In the big games, you want players performing at their best, and we didn't put players at their best today. I mean, not today, Thursday. It's been a day, but that was my issue with with how we set up for this game. But yeah, obviously, the first 20 minutes happens. We get a few chances. I think Saka hits one, gets a missed chance, and then there was a free kick from Erdegaard that just hit the first man. Couple
I
of
mean, there
corners.
was that one
Yeah,
period, like that one cutback after the Tommy, and Saka does well to really isolate Ben Davies, and we get like an early card. And I'm thinking, you know what, we've got some foot on this game,
yeah,
essentially, right?
100%.
And I'm thinking, with us, the momentum is actually with us, and that's why I was really confused. I think the goal happened at the worst time. Again, I don't want to run over old ground, but the fact that Holding and Cedric are against that, kind of that sun axis really pisses me off because we were on top. Those first 20 minutes were phenomenal. After that yellow card happens with Ben Davies really early, like you said, we had a period where we had a free kick. And then, just unfortunately, legitimately after those two chances, Kulusevski receives wide, really simple. We've seen Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard do this cross from the right to the left with an in-swinger countless times. But Rob Holding is marking Son. Cedric is marking Sessegnon. Again,
Yeah,
Cedric has this ability to always let his blindside runner through. This is a big problem, by the
his
way, that
body
I hate.
positioning was terrible. The
It's
way he
horrible. If you watch back the goal, mate, like they're ball watching, and he's not marking Sessegnon goal side,
his
and it's
his
really
his body
frustrating.
is pointing away from the side the ball is coming in.
Hmm.
Do you know how mad that is? He doesn't swivel. He doesn't swivel onto ball. He watches the runner and then he just jumps and
Which
then
is
it,
really
it, it
frustrating for me
crashes.
because he's an experienced fullback and he's completely out of position. And this is why, for me, also when you look at the Newcastle game, I know that's everyone's focus. Alan St. Maximin is running the blindside run all the time. That boy will attack you in the box, and we can't have somebody that fails to track runners blindside. And so with a simple in swinger, again, Spurs don't do anything special. Like Kulusevski receives wide, he drives in swinger. Now look, the thing that really annoys me, mate, is Rob Holding again. If you actually watch him, he marks Son. Son is his guy. Okay.
Yep.
Son makes a classic center forward run. And look, I know I don't want to praise because it's Spurs player yuck, but look, he makes a beautiful fake run. He sells Rob short that he's going to go near post, and he just peels around back. And now Rob is unaware of his man.
Isolated. Yeah.
He focuses on Kane, which by the way is not his man. His man was Son. And then he turns to Kane, and then I think he sees, oh shoot, it's not getting to him, and he barges Son in the back, and it is ridiculous. I've seen a lot of debate, like let's go through it, like what do you make of the penalty shouts and stuff? For me, this kind of contact, if we do call this consistently, it's going to add like 10 to 20 goals in a Premier League season. We see this all the time. The part of the issue why I'm actually not too upset with the referee is because of Holding as opposed to really Cedric on it. If people are
Yep.
thinking the Cedric, that happens every game. That's ridiculous. It happened Konate today. That little slight barge. If Cedric was the culprit, I have no excuse for that. That's a complete refereeing decision. But if it's Rob, for me, he throws himself, mate, and he throws himself recklessly in the back, and it's just like, mate, why are you doing that? The ball isn't even going to get to Son. If you
I
guys
was
actually get the
praying
ball.
we could just get the halftime and sub him. That was
Yeah,
the pray. I was praying. I was just like, bro, I don't care if we're 1-0 down. Just get to halftime and get the sub on, get Ben on, or get whoever you want on, and just try and do something, because that was a bad game from Holding, and I think
it was
someone
coming,
else.
wasn't it? Like
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
could tell
100%.
when Holding
No,
gets
but this
too
is
aggressive
this
like
is the
that.
thing with these people that are going to be out in favour. They have we had it with Lacazette, where he was on this run and then it ran out and people turned. Had it with Holding, Rob Holdini, 5-3-2, 5-5-2-3, whatever the hell you want to call
Mate,
it,
what do you mean?
and that's
Forget
run
the
out.
5-3-2. Like when he's coming back in, everybody set up the low block monster. We're doing one of these,
Yeah.
and
It's
everyone's
just
like, it's
like,
good to go. But the trouble is when you rely on these players that have ultimately really poor instincts in the box, because Rob Holding gets out jumped quite often. For somebody that's really aerially defensive, he needs to not be the one defending
look at the
wide
Chelsea
area.
game.
Yeah. He's only good if you stick him in between two guys that are able to go out wide and meet wide, because he can only focus on one runner centrally, and he loses his marker far too often. So,
Yep.
look, I was really upset. I think Cedric has a poor positioning, but look, it's ultimately Rob. He lets Son fool him with the run. Again, it's an amazing run. I don't think people clocked onto that, by the way. Son actually makes a dart near post, and then he stops and goes back post. It's a classic center forward run. He sells it, and Rob follows him, and he gets his attention to Kane, and he forgets that his marker's behind him. And so after that period, the penalty decision happens, and it was a case of he was always going to bury it. I kind of knew it. Even in the prediction, I said, look, Kane's
I
going to
was
get a penalty.
praying. I
Kane's
was
going to get a
praying, and
penalty. There's no way that he's missing.
no.
But look, mate, after that, Rob continues, and again, I I mean, I do kind of. We've been talking about this all stream. Like, I really don't like how Mikel set up the team, and we already knew that he's not at the standard. We knew that he thrives in specific states, and I understand that he may have not been set up the great, but that penalty, by the way, that's not a tactical mismatch. Okay, that is
No.
him defending the box. And those are basics. So I'm really annoyed at that. Now, the next 7 minutes, this is where we get into a little bit of debate, because that's when he's being far too aggressive with Son, which clearly
He
was the
lost his
assignment.
head. He lost
He
his
lost his
head.
head. But again, mate, it should have been Tommy. We know that. We've been through old ground. We talked about that earlier in the stream. But then, look, I think Rob, his first one, gets a yellow card for accumulation of fouls. And then at that point, you've got to be experienced enough. This is experience for me, Kern. Like, I hate the term experience when people keep making excuses for just people saying, if you're old, you're experienced. No. If you're on a yellow card in a derby, okay, and you've been touch tight to Son, and you get an early card in what was probably mate, like the 25th minute, I want to say
Yeah.
was the first card.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Like the penalty happened at the 20th minute, they get the goal. After that, I think Rob gets his first yellow at around the 25th minute. That's an accumulation of fouls. Then I'm like, okay, mate, keep your head. Okay, I get that you're following Son, but don't foul him. Go in. You can be touch tight. He's gonna sell everything. He gets the yellow card. Fair play. I'm like, guys, we got to calm down. It's just 1-0 down. I'm hoping to get somebody's foot on the ball. And it's at this moment that we missed Emil Smith Rowe, Kern. It is at
Yep.
this moment when something is going against the tide, the crowd starts going up. They did, because we silenced their crowd in the first
Because the
20
thing
minutes.
is, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why ESR was missed. Because ESR can carry. He can carry a ball. He can get us out of the get out. Just tactically. Forget like the
Yeah.
emotional side. Just tactically, he is an amazing ball carrier. He's able to get up the ball up the pitch, and that's what you need when you're under the cosh like that. You need someone who's like we had at West Ham, Eddie playing that ball, running in behind. You need that runner. You need someone who's going to do
You need
something
your
and change the
technicians.
game.
You need your
Yeah,
technicians, right? Because when you're playing away and in away days, and it's like a transition kind of
he's not
basketball
suspended. No,
game. No,
he's not
Granit
suspended.
Xhaka is not suspended. For anybody that's wondering, no, that's hogwash. That's just Twitter narrative. Every
Mhm.
time some Granit gets suspended at the end of a big loss. But anyways, no, I was saying like technicians are absolutely key when you're in an away day and a transition day, and you need to quiet the crowd. We need controlled possession. That's what we needed, right? And we needed
Yep,
somebody to get their foot on the ball. And we didn't necessarily need to be very vertical, current mate. Like this is where we needed the U-shaped Wenger pass to death at this moment.
100%.
Pass,
Because the thing is,
kill
you're
the
playing as
crowd.
one of the best transition teams. When
Yes.
you're playing as a transition team, you need that ability to slow them down, grind it down, slow the tempo because they want it fast. They want it to be on their speed because if they nick the ball back and you're all up at the in a high line, Liverpool found out the hard way. City found out the hard way. You need a bit more nous there. You need the
Mhm.
ability to say, look, we need to be in control of this game. We can't let it our heads get the better of us and duke it out with them because that's what they want. They want it to be
Ironically,
duked out.
mate, you know what really frustrated me? You know who had a really great game for Spurs was Sessegnon. And Sessegnon
A
had a
really good
great
game.
game,
Yeah, yeah.
and he allowed Son to be inside constantly. And I was just thinking, mate, if we could have a Nuno on that side and have an Emil Smith Rowe
Oh,
driving.
don't.
This for me, and I was seeing it, and I was seeing it work against us, against Cedric, who is a very poor
Like,
fullback and awareness
yeah,
wise.
man.
And then I'm thinking, hold on, they just put Davinson Sanchez on the inside center back. Why the hell can't we do the exact same thing on our side? And it was very frustrating. But after Holding gets that kind of yellow card, mate, Cedric makes just a very stupid decision. Like he's receiving in the right half space, and for me, he makes a poor ball. It's a very good, I don't know. It's a decent Spurs press. It's just Son that's going there, and he kind of gives the ball into midfield, and Saka's high,
What I
and
found
Rowe is
hilarious.
tracking Kane.
What I found hilarious was people going, "Oh, the tactico said that Conte can't press a high press, can't coach a higher press." I'm like, bro, do you
But they
like
couldn't. If you actually
Sun
go back,
pressed, like
Son
Sun
pressed.
pressed individually.
Yeah.
It wasn't a coordinated press. It wasn't like Kane was like going, okay, calm. I'm gonna go ball side and attack the centre back who receives the ball. It was literally his son going, calm. I'll just press.
They actually did, Curran, mate. They did the same press that I want us to do. They did a 1-2. They had Kane deeper, and Kulusevski and Son were chasing a
Yep.
dual attack. That's what they did, and they just followed the fullback. They isolated Cedric. They made Rob Holding a pressing trigger, made Cedric a pressing trigger, and they compared in twos. And basically Cedric gives a really really poor ball. I think it was Hoiberg that picks it up, passes it out to Son, who just gives it to
I
Harry
mean,
Kane
would
and
you? I
drives.
don't think it was that I don't think it was as coordinated as you're making out, though. I don't feel like it was. It was like they went out in terms of to go pick up in twos. I feel like Son pressed like a monster. I feel like he did.
He
He did.
did.
He was. He
Kulusevski
was.
would
He was.
follow him. I thought Kulusevski
Kulusevski
would follow him.
was more lackadaisical. I don't think he was very much like aggressive, like man tight, or like he was
No.
going to ball. Like
That's
I feel
him
like it
though.
was.
That's him though, like off the ball. Like I think the assignment from them, I don't think Kane followed up well. He just dropped deep. But they
Yeah,
were
this
like
is what I'm saying.
when Sun goes, Kulu you go too. That I think was the basics of their press. And they were basically accounting for the fact that
But the other thing
um
was is they weren't hitting from midfield either in terms of pressing. It wasn't like
no,
Højbjerg was hitting the pivot at all. It was
no,
sort of
no.
it was very much a case of okay, we'll have Son press, Kulu will try, and then Kane will just sort of like be there to pick up second balls if something happens, and he can just create for runners. I think
Yeah.
that's how I looked at it. I didn't really see a sort of like hugely coached high press. I saw a makeshift plan behind someone who's very energetic.
A little bit. I,
Um,
I just feel that we give teams an opportunity to get their crowd going when you've got a fullback and Rob Holding in the back as your build-up, and you're trying to get through there, and
100%, yeah.
it makes it easy for you to isolate that side, right? And I think it's very simple. If Tommy is down there, I don't know if Son is pressing as aggressively, and when Son doesn't press aggressively, their press stops. That's why I think for me, Tommy wasn't just to stop Son in their attacks. Tommy was for us to stop their press as well. And that's like, well, that's what was the biggest frustration for me because I felt that Tommy at right back is a double edged sword that, by the way, I don't think people talked about on Twitter because Tommy is just as important in killing their press with Son
Weak.
as
You watch
he
the
is.
90. Always watch the 90.
You
If you're
always
at
go
home,
back.
if you're at home, you'll watch the 90. If you're at an away day and you go at like 85 minutes with the 3-0 down, I'm with you. But if you're at home, you do not switch off the TV until that final whistle goes. You
Well,
stick in
yeah,
and endure the pain.
and I mean, look, mate. So like that Cedric chance happens, and Kane kind of runs into a cauldron. And look, Tommy has a beautiful block, by the way. And Tommy again for me,
uh,
our man of the match,
the,
like by far.
the passing I feel is going underrated as well. I feel like his ability to pass out of trouble as well. So good in tight spaces. His ability to swivel, the willingness to put his body on the line as well. He was the only player that I can say walk out and be like, I did everything. I don't know,
Yeah,
but whatever else happened, I know that I came off that pitch and gave it my all, and he did. And that's why I'm not exactly hugely worried for Newcastle because even if Gabriel isn't fit, we have him and White, and I think that does a job very well. The only issue is obviously Cedric on ASM, but
well, and you know what, mate? Like, you know what? The part of the frustration with this whole thing is after we kind of, for me, settled the storm a little bit after that Cedric
yep,
chance. Rob Holding's card kills the game. It kills the game in the 34th
kills the
minute.
game.
What frustrates me is people are saying Dyer, um, you know, Dyer being really great on the Dyer just makes a floated ball in behind. And Son is never getting there.
He
They
doesn't
win so
target
much
anything.
space.
He hits and hopes.
He hits and hopes. It's a Hail Mary attempt, simple ball over the top, route one. And look, for me, mate, like Rob has zero excuses. Why is he going in like that? I think I was telling you off stream the first yellow card, it's an accumulation of fouls,
Yep,
fine, fair play. Okay. You're an experienced player. I have nothing to defend Rob. I'm sorry, guys. Like the red card was totally justified. For
hundred
me,
percent.
penalty decision, tough one. For me, look, Rob had to get a yellow because it was coming. He was having niggly foul after niggly foul, so I'm not a big fan. Like I don't mind that, but then yeah, after that he does that, and
I mean,
I'm
this is
livid.
right.
I'm
We didn't
livid.
take advantage. We didn't take advantage. When I saw Romero out, I thought, hang
Yeah,
on a second. There's a way. There's a way. There's a
Current mate,
key
you know
up
what?
here.
I was in group chat saying I didn't like that. I actually would have preferred Romero because I felt that he would have been a build-up trigger for us. And
Yeah,
Davinson Sanchez sitting back actually allowed for them to really push up Sessegnon so high. And they basically used Emerson a little bit deeper. If you noticed, he wasn't as bombing down the right, and
he
because
was.
he
He
was
was
being
trying not
open
to
up, he
be.
was a lot more
Basically, they
reserved.
hit him. They hit him
They hit
basically.
him. Of course, they put him in the back, but then that allowed Sessegnon to be high. But I think with Romero, you can't do that because Romero steps up, and so it would have pushed Emerson higher. So for me, even if Romero was the better defender, I think he's poorer on the ball. He would have been a better press for us, actually. But yeah, mate, like Holding for me, he's so lucky that he was on a yellow card. But look, he gets the red. Um, and he's out. And then after that point, I'm not gonna lie, Kern, you mate. I'm like, you know what? There's no way that we're coming back from this. 35 minutes, 1-0 down,
I don't know. I
red
don't know, man.
card,
For
five.
me, people are saying this to me, but I saw chances. Even after we went down, I saw opportunities. I saw very bad ball striking. I saw the inability to put them away. Even at 2-0 down, I thought, you know what? It's 2-0. Anything can happen at 2-0. If you can just nick a goal, put a bit of nerves in them, and just see where you can build from that, there might be a chance. But again, very, very, very thin. I thought there was a chance. I didn't think that I wasn't going out and be like, oh, 100%, we got this. But there was a small chance because they were giving us opportunities in that first half a lot.
Well, there's still like I mean, yeah, like they had opportunities, but the trouble thing for me, mate, is there's always an overload when it's that early. And it's such an emotional game, and it's a derby that, yeah, you'll get chances because I think Spurs are poor. Like, I don't think,
Yeah.
I think that's the case. But ultimately, you're going to be outnumbered for what 60 minutes of a game at this point. And so, I mean, it was a tough pill for me to swallow. And then the goal I'm again similarly livid about because this is defending set pieces, something that we've done beautifully all season. I think this is one of the first goals that we've let in off a set piece, current, and
This is
I think
second.
yeah, it's the second. There you go. And so it doesn't happen to us often, and I hate that it had to happen against these lot because again, it's a simple ball in the middle, and I think for me, no one is marking Emerson, and he gets a free header. And Eddie has to follow his man. Like he's on Kane at this point, right? And he doesn't. He lets Kane go back post from a flick on with Emerson, and it's frustrating. And you're 2-0 down. Um, what did you make of that goal? I don't even think
It's
there's
too
much
simple.
tactical
It's
there.
too
It's too
easy. It's too
simple.
simple. It's
Yeah.
too easy. Front post, knock down, hit at the far post. And the thing is, a lot of people coming around still for this game, and I don't understand. There was literally nothing he did wrong this game.
Yeah.
I
Not
find
much
it
wrong with it.
I find it very strange. If it was like, okay, there was like a Werner goal against Chelsea, something like that, or like a something he should have saved and he didn't. But he literally did nothing wrong for any of the goals. That they're very high XG chances. Like,
Well, and then
it
and
is what
like
it is.
like you said, mate. Like I think to end the half, Bukayo comes in and he has almost one of these messy runs where I think right towards the end of the half, he's taking out three players, and Eddie has a pretty strong, sharp shot inside the box at far post. I don't know if you remember, it was like right
Yeah, yeah,
before half. Like I think Bukayo receives in his own half and he drives. He does a beautiful thing. He's driving, and again, he was the only outlet that I saw really working. But mate, it would have been nice to have two of those either side. That's all I'm going to say. But
yeah.
Eddie has a great pop shot. And then right to end the half, I think, Martinelli has a chance to kind of wind in a mazy run. And Odegaard finds himself at the top of the box. But again, he scuffs his shot, right? And I think for me, there was a lot of periods that Odegaard was found at the top of the key that he didn't make the most of. There was that later in the second half when we get there. There was two chances that he had from third man running positions, and he doesn't
Yeah.
really make the most of it. And this is what we have to do if you're behind. But like you said, mate, at this point, it's 2-0. You never say never. You never want to give up. And it kind of leads us into halftime.
And it
And what are
wasn't
you
even
thinking?
about never say never. It was more of like, there's a shot here. There's a legitimate shot because if you just get one back, this Spurs team are not as comfortable. Shut the
Well, it's a
crowd up a
derby.
bit.
It's emotional in the same way that the game got away from us after
Yeah,
the
but
first 20
the thing is,
minutes. The game could
if
get
you
away
if
from
you get
them.
one back, it shuts up the crowd.
Mhm.
They're all on nerves, and you get back into your own rhythm, and you can build from that. But we just didn't find a way to just sort of go exactly. I think this whole point is this is showing what we need next season. All teams right now, you look at Liverpool today, they're having injury problems right now. If you look at all different Walker for City in the Champions League, like teams have injuries right now. The way you win things, the way you manage to get things in this game is how do you manage injuries and suspensions. That's it. Because at this point in the season, it's very much one shot saloon.
Mhm.
Take your chances, get them in, and finish the game. And now Mikel has an opportunity to go at half time and say, look, we're 2-0 down. How are we gonna change it? And instantly the first thing that you think is, hang on, okay, so Bukai's going to left centre mid or whatever you want to call it. Perfect. Don't mind that at all. Or even if you want to put him on the right, because I thought, for me, I thought put him on the right, put Granite on the left, and have El Neni deep if you want to do that.
Well, I think what he wanted to do was he wanted to understand essentially the space was going to be on the right because I think for him, what Mikel was thinking is, look, Son is attacking down there, but our outball is Davinson Sanchez and attacking down there, and so he's hoping that Bakayo gets an opportunity to receive in that left half space and drive at him, as opposed to driving on their left, which is essentially where Son would track back with, Kane would
Yeah,
come back there. There's a little bit Hoiberg is there. I think he's hoping to isolate Davinson Sanchez as opposed to Ben Davies. I think that's my biggest opinion. But but even
that would
then,
make sense.
it's like when you're down to 10 men, you make a guess. When you're down to 10 men, you're hoping for supreme clinical efficiency. Every coach does it. They're like, I'm going to put my best attacker on the side that I think is their weakest defender, and I'm going to tell everyone to be tight at the back, really compact, and we're going to hope that he can get us out of trouble. That's what you do when you've got 10 men
So
back, and
basically, you're saying that
especially
you were trying to combine Saka and Martinelli together, and have
yeah,
Eddie complete the triangle and try and work
hopefully,
something there.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
was the
makes
hope.
sense.
That was the
Yeah,
hope
that makes sense.
because then you've got an opportunity to kind of overload on one game
Yeah,
day, and you're going to
with players
commit.
with technicians in the half space as well,
Yeah,
which makes
you'll
sense.
try to commit to the best of your ability to the team, right? And that's always going to leave you exposed at the back. But he's like, okay, where am I going to ideally get this? I'm not going to get on the right. Cedric is useless down there. Also, you had Tommy, right? So
Yeah,
that kind of quartet, that was your best security.
and their weaker side is their right side as well.
Exactly. So for me, it was tough. But then got I don't know, mate. Like Davinson Sanchez makes a really easy ball in. I think Mo has to do a little bit better on his job on Kane. You know,
Yep.
Kane does a really good job rolling Gabriel, which I think is a little bit soft. I'd like Gabriel to be a little bit stronger there, but ultimately I think the ball to be able to get in from Sanchez into Kane is just far too easy. And that goal again, it's frustrating, mate. It's frustrating. I think our heads go and then after that point, I think the heads drop a little bit. And we had a couple flurried chances. You know, again, Bukayo, as it's always Bukayo. You know, he's driving, and Martinelli gets into the box. He's got a really good opportunity, and Bukayo's in the box with his weak foot, and it's got it with a really good block. I think it's Ben Davies in the middle, if
Mm.
I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you remember. It happened like right after the goal, and I thought, ooh, good chance, like good fight back. I really enjoy that. But ultimately, we ended up having a really strong Ramsdale save right after that too, which no one talks about. People were saying Ramsdale had a good game at that point, 3-0. There was
No,
an
man. People
insane
we were
cross,
three
and he
0
had
down. People were
yeah,
saying we were 3-0 down, and he's just not at it anymore. We should play Leno again. I'm just like,
it was
bro,
crazy
like,
because he dealt. I think it was Emerson coming in. He has a really strong right hand and does really well on Emerson header from a wide cross. And of course, we clear our lines, but I thought Ramsdale played really well when we were down.
yeah,
You
he
know,
did.
I think he kept us in the game there from it being a little bit embarrassing at that point. I'll be honest with you, because I think 4-0. Again, the heads dropped for me. There was a couple moments where again Odegaard had a chance at the top of the D
But I just
again.
feel after about 65, like nothing of significance happened. It was a lot of recycling of the ball.
Yeah.
It was a lot of just like they just wanted the game to end, and we just wanted it to end. I don't think they
Mm.
produced anything of extreme note. I don't think we produced much. I think we had a pot shot or two, but like not much. I think
I
for
mean,
me the game ended about
Kulusevski.
65.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kulusevski and Son come off at that moment. That like I think it's the 70th minute, and then
Yeah,
from
that's
there
perfect.
it kind of kills itself. But then Odegaard does have a chance about like 10 minutes later, I think it is, after we sub off Eddie and Laka comes on. Again, it's at the top of that box from a cutback. It's a really strong move. Um, I think it's Nuno who again is attacking down that left channel and he has a
Yep.
cutback. And Odegaard makes better connection on this one. I think it was his best connection, but again, straight at Lloris. And I'm just thinking we got to do a little bit better in those situations. And it frustrates me that we didn't see enough of that Nuno from 90 minutes. And that's a tactical decision. That's unfortunately what you're not going to get. But I think the game kind of peters out from that point on. I didn't really notice anything else of significance at that point.
No, no.
Um,
I think before we do finish, I think we need to talk about a couple of things. I'm gonna have a bit of a rant, so I'm gonna let you go for a while because I want you to talk. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. So first of all, what do you make of Gabriel's injury?
Not much, mate. I actually, I have a think that he has a potential to be back. I didn't see him pull up at all. Um, and I think for me, the biggest thing is there was no pull up from a run. So I don't think
No,
it's anything serious. And if he's only being assessed, that means that it's a grade 1 immediately. So that's really great news. That also means it's a daily assessment. So unfortunately, there's a good chance he's back for Everton. There's a slight chance of Newcastle. I actually wouldn't rule him out. I wouldn't rule him out at all. Um, but yeah, I think for me, I would actually expect him to be back for Newcastle just because I don't feel I saw any pull up. You know, he was still walking fine. I didn't see
it'll
him.
be a day by day assessment for me. I just think
Yeah.
because the thing is, because I watched it. I didn't watch the whole game back, but I watched parts of it back, and I watched that specifically because I wanted to see, and I didn't see a pull up. I didn't see he held it. He just collapsed. He held his hamstring and collapsed a bit.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a blatant like, okay, this is clearly a massive issue.
Oh, are there
And
rumors of Gabriel? I didn't realize, but look,
yeah, there
from a
there are
medical
there are, but it's like
from a
you know what
medical
it's like.
perspective, he could be fine. Like I'm telling you right now, it's a grade one injury. I'd have to examine him, at this point.
Exactly. No, but the thing
Really,
is, it's very much because it's muscular, and muscular injuries are
yeah,
very very temperamental, and it would depend on how he was stretched afterwards. It would depend on the physio work afterwards. It would depend on the recovery,
yeah.
and it just depends on genetics at that point. Like you just have to see how the guy recovers.
It's a
Thought
tight turnaround, but I think it's fine because again, if it was just kind of like a pull, it's not a big issue.
No,
If it's a tear, that's when it's like season done. So yeah, we'll take it day by day. And mate, look, we're looking at it. The narrative switches, and I kind of want to maybe use the last 5 or 10 minutes to kind of just talk about the fallout, focusing on Newcastle, what our job needs to be, because I see a lot of crap online. Look, everybody wants us to lose, but I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans that want Arsenal to lose, and I don't call those fans. I call those agenda-ridden,
I call them
amoebas
vultures.
or
I call
vultures.
because the thing is, I said it on Twitter, and I'm gonna stick to my guns here. These are not fans.
No, they're
They're
not.
they're unhappy when we win. They're sad they're happy when we lose. They don't like the team. They don't like the manager. They complain about players that aren't even at the club anymore. They don't like anything about the club. So what are you a fan of? You're a fan of yourself because you like your narratives and you like your little clicks and your little things. You're not a fan. Don't call yourself a fan. I don't count you as a fan. If you're a fan, then you support the team. Supporter means support, as Elneny said. You have to support them when times are tough. When times are tough, you don't crumble. You rise to the occasion. You galvanize the team. You see that the Emirates this season has been one of the loudest I've ever seen it at because they understand that this something is happening here. And I'm not going to be ashamed of saying it. I'm not going to be ashamed to say that I'm happy about what's happening right now. And I'm not ashamed to admit that we are more than happy with what's happening right now at the club. We're happy with the contract. We're happy with Mikel. And I don't go every game into it. I don't go every game thinking, Mikel might be in this game. He might be out this game. He might be in this game. He might be. Dude just signed a contract. Okay? He ain't going nowhere. So if you don't like it, you know what to do with your opinion. Put your ass in your mouth and shut up. Seriously, had
I
enough.
I am just having a hard time understanding fans that want to be told that they're right. Ultimately, Arsenal, regardless of what you everybody may want to do with objectives, are finishing higher than anybody had them predicted to be, bar people on this channel. And at minimum, if things happen, we finish fifth, we have Europe. There's an exciting project, and there are only a couple pieces left to really take this team to the next level. And when you look at it in the cold heart of day, I don't understand how you can sit there logically and say that the next team has the advantage when your team is ahead. Your team is ahead. And it's really quite ironic, Igal, you're mentioning Standards FC. It's Standard FC that shits themselves at the earliest sign of pressure. And every single time it's on Twitter where these people that claim that they need high standards, when there's a high pressure game, they say, oh, we're going to pooch it. Oh, we have no spine. Oh, we have this. Oh, we have that. They have no ability to put their chest out in front and back the boys, back their team. And they're looking for a case to say, see, I told you I was right. And by the way, that's not just domestic fans, that's not just our own fans, that's rival fans as well. I'm seeing this far too often. I'm seeing this case that if whoever gets top four, it's going to be the worst top four finish. Hogwash, absolute hogwash.
We have
Okay.
more wins than Chelsea. We have more wins than Chelsea.
Yeah.
Okay, how is it the worst top four race when we have more wins on the board than the third team? Either they're the worst third
It is
team
def- it is
in ever as well.
deflecting their team's
I'm done with it, man.
inability. I'm done with it. And by the way, it makes no difference because it's always going to be the same characters. It's always going to be the same rival fans that are doing it. And ultimately, this Arsenal team have been extremely consistent this season. They've taken a step forward. The progress is there to see. No, that doesn't mean that you're saying that you're done. I'm tired of that. And everybody is very quiet. I agree, is very quiet when everybody starts winning. And this team, by the way, that people say that lacks character, how many times this season has Arsenal come back after poor runs of form? 3 games this season, the Man United, the Everton time, Brighton, Southampton. And now, at what point,
After
are there
Liverpool
three
as well.
examples?
After Liverpool in when we went away at Anfield, we
Yeah,
bounced back after Man City. We bounced back after all these different games.
bounce back
Um,
after City, bounce back after Manchester United and Everton, bounce back after Brighton, Southampton in the third one. It's ridiculous. Those aren't flukes. So if you're going to sit there and say that we shit the bed, then you better not say then that we can't pull a
we
run
don't
like
shit the
this.
bed. You shit the bed. It's
Yeah,
very simple.
very
Very,
simple.
very simple. And the one thing I'm gonna say as well is there's this whole narrative online. This team has no leaders. There's no leadership in the. Well, look, we have international captains running our team, right?
Yeah,
Throughout the team. The whole point of this rebuild was under 23 players with leadership qualities. We have leaders coming through at all points, and I'm tired of having fans and or other people forget calling them fans. Other people coming here celebrating us when we're up with a knife behind our back, saying you better keep it up, you better be in the title race, you better do this, you better, because it's gone from you need to finish in the top six to you need to be in a top four race to you need to be you need to be fourth. And I've seen some people say this season doesn't matter, we should have been in a title race with Man City and Liverpool. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? What the
yeah.
hell is wrong with you? And honestly, it's not about destroying our joy. It's about, I feel like on this platform, we have the ability to speak out and say how we feel. It's not about destroying my joy. Well, if we lose every game from now on, do you think it's gonna affect like what I'm gonna do in my real life? It's gonna be fine, man. The
No,
only
mate,
thing I'm
and you
gonna
know what?
say
It's
is
actually the opposite because I appreciate Blaze made and like don't worry, like it's not letting us down. In fact, the boys that have called it preseason from top four, we're not doubling, we're not tripling, we're quadrupling down. I see there's no reason to panic at this point. I actually find it quite hilarious, and I find it's the same guys that are panicking that didn't believe that we would get
but
8
it's not panic.
last
It's not real
season.
panic. It's
It's
not real
no,
panic.
no, it's
It's
fake panic.
false panic.
Yeah,
It's false panic so they can appear to get the little clicks, to get the little views, and to get to appear right.
yeah.
Like
Look,
if you have, because the thing is, the last thing, George, before I give it back to you to sign off is the last thing I'm going to say is I'm tired of people pretending to be outraged when you have nothing to be outraged about, and I'm tired of people saying that they're having football conversations without mentioning what's happening on the pitch. I'm
mhm,
tired of it. If you're going to tell me, tell me any of these little creators, right? Tell me how many times do they talk about a press? How many times, if you go up to one of these YouTubers and go, okay, calm, tell me how this team pressed today, or tell me what the block of this team was, or tell me the rotations that we used in transition. What are the final third rotations? What are the balls we use to get into the final third? How do we set up chances? What do we do with our set pieces? Do you know who does that? We do that. We do that every week. We do that week in, week out. And I'm tired of people saying that they are football people that don't know a damn thing about this game. And they just go off narratives, individualism. Oh, who got more GA this week? Who the hell cares? Like, there's a whole team out there. It's not one person. You don't play 1 on 11. You play 11 on 11. There's a team game. And if you don't understand about what the team is doing, then I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand. I don't get it. Okay?
I don't understand it, and ultimately, there's 2 games left, and the team that is the most consistent, I will remain consistent myself. Same message, boys, okay, and girls that are out there that are listening, because we don't discriminate, of course. Um, focus on your lawn. Focusing on your lawn, by the way, doesn't just mean in terms of rival fans. It means your own fans. Okay, keep out the naysayers. Focus on what you need to do. Okay, we have 2 finals coming up: Newcastle and Everton. Okay. And yes, if we aren't able to beat Newcastle and Everton, we don't deserve top four because we didn't get it. It's simple as
Yeah.
that. And then the team deserves its criticism, and we dust ourselves off. And guess what, guys? We go again. But ultimately,
Yep.
I'm very confident that we're able to make a change against Newcastle. There's a couple things that I really want to see. I need to see Tommy back at right back. He needs to be back in the positions on the pitch that he's most comfortable in. We need to see our best 1v1 defender against their best 1v1 outlet. I need to see Emile Smith-Rowe back in the team. I need a little bit more drive in midfield. He's a tempo changer. We need to really increase that tempo because, yes, I actually don't think that we're a wounded animal. In fact, I actually love this siege mentality that Mikel is doing. I think he's got the perfect response. We don't talk. Unlike Conte, who's a little bit of a pussy who wants to keep crying when things go wrong, and then when they
Just
go right, he likes to talk just a little bit. Meanwhile, he's complaining about his grass not being
yeah.
highly cut. Mate,
No,
that
but
is your stadium.
this
Go
is the
ahead
other
and
thing,
fix
right?
it.
This is the other thing, right? You have this narrative that Mikel is this complainer. He's this soft manager with no experience. Whenever something goes wrong, he takes it. He takes
Mhm.
it here. He takes it. He doesn't put the blame on the players. He takes the blame. The only time I've ever seen him go after the player was Pepe at Leeds. I've not
But
seen
I
him
think that's him.
go.
I think that's him learning. I actually wanted to end on that because yeah, no, I stand by what I said.
He
He is,
is.
and he only talks when he's ahead, and then when he's losing, he wants to leave. That for me is the definition of a pussy. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So if you're going to talk and you're going to be a big man about advice and about not complaining, fix your match scandal past. Okay, mate. Like don't talk and throw stones in glass houses. All right, there's plenty on you. And I think Mikel is taking a very mature approach, and I love the fact that Mikel did say, no, it's not the players, it's officiating. Now, is some of that a little bit not true? Potentially. There were some tactical issues with the game. We talked at length about them.
Yep.
But what I really loved was a manager defending his boys, defending his team in the media. And you know what, mate? That makes me really, really impressed for kind of the way that we're going to approach Newcastle. Everyone is just saying, look, it's in the past. Okay. It's done. And we're going to focus on Newcastle. We got one job to do. We take it 90 minutes at a time. People are telling me, what do you think about Burnley and Tottenham? I don't care. Insert
I don't
that,
give a shit.
insert that give. We don't care.
Honestly,
We
I
don't
don't
care.
care.
We
No.
don't care.
And
I
the thing
honestly,
is,
MJ could have the best performance of his
I will
coaching
say this,
career.
right? I've I've indulged in the bit of the banter. I've put my Twitter profile picture is Ashley Barnes. I've engaged in a bit of the fun, but honestly, 6 points. That's
Mhm.
what matters.
Six
Fuck
points and it's
Conte.
90 minutes. We focus on 90 minutes, okay? Regardless
Mhm.
of what happens, we keep people outside of our lawn. That's the biggest advice I can say to friends, I can say to fans, I can say to people that are really confident in the boys doing their work today. And also, I think that we focus on Newcastle, we get through that, then we focus on the last game of the season. We focus on going out strong with our fans. I am comfortable at home with our fans behind the team. I'm not really worried about that game. I really think Newcastle's the big one. And when you focus on Newcastle, they got a lot of injuries. Joe Willock, John Joe Shelby, big misses in their midfield. So for me, it's about us taking control of our own destiny. We've got the opportunity to do it. Just go and take it. That's it. And ultimately,
There's nothing I
whoever
want more
wins
than
deserves it.
I want nothing more than to shut that little bitch up. I want
Yeah.
nothing more. I want nothing more because he is everything wrong with football. He's everything wrong with football. Entitled, spoilt, inability to take criticism, inability to coach in terms of he's a very good coach in terms of his block. He's a Catenaccio type coach. He's not a modern football. He's everything I don't like about football. He is no responsibility, no pace, no tempo, or transitions, no ability to actually produce a coherent 90 minutes where you're not depending on other teams. You actually take the game. He's
Oh,
everything I hate in football.
no, absolutely. And look, mate, chaos. Not only you, I'm sure everybody in the chat, and I
You
am
have
going to
no idea.
promise
You have
you,
no idea.
the violence that will be unleashed. And you know what? And I say will be because it's going to happen.
It's
And
gonna happen.
I absolutely can't wait for this because I think you know what, Mikel. As much as people look, I know we're all upset, but the fact he goes, I can't speak because if I would say what I want to say, I'm going to be suspended for 6 months. Like, when you really think about it, my God, what was he going
Beautiful.
to say? That 6 months are going to do it. But look, ultimately, guys, you got to believe in your team. I know this was a tough watch. I hope everybody got a little bit of smile, some perspective on the game. But look, we're going to definitely have, a preview out for you guys tomorrow. And look, guys, let's just have some balls, okay? None of this being afraid to put our chest out. Look, you believe in your team. This team has the cojones. It's come back before, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but now let's make it 4. And we have the ability to do it. It's in our hands. Go and grab it. Don't be afraid to say that there's an opportunity that you can't make. Take that
No,
shot because that is the standard, by the way. not standards about titles, not none of that. When you have an opportunity to meet your objectives, you take it. That is it. It's simple. End of story. We come out here with chest and we're ready to discuss. Hopefully, we do it. I'm excited. I hope you guys get excited because you know what? This season's not done. This team is not done. It's getting started. So
I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying
I'm
it.
enjoying it. I can't
Look,
wait. And I honestly have nothing else to say. But yeah, mate, Kern, what about you? Last minute thoughts.
support the team, nada más. Done. Just support the team. Okay, forget everything else. Support the team for 180 minutes. I don't care if you're Arteta in, out, shake it all about. I don't give a shit. Get behind this team because we have the chance to do something special here. We have the chance to shut every single fan base, every single pundit, every single Gary Neville, every single bloody Paul Scholes, Rio Ferdinand, all the Roy Keane, all the bullshit. We can shut everyone up, everyone, and they hate us. They want us to fail. So enjoy that, anticipate it, enjoy the hatred, because this is what Arsenal was like in the early 2000s. Everyone hated us. Everyone loved United. Enjoy it.
And I think
Okay?
some people have forgot this a little bit where, guys, this is what it feels like to compete. This is standards, by the way. This is standards. Not saying because we lose and at the first sign of trouble, oh, we're going to crumble. No, no. This is standards, making sure that you're going to hold your team accountable for sure. You talk the pros, you talk the cons, but believing in your team to turn it around, that is the standard. That is the standard of a fan
Yep.
for me. So, look, that's basically all I need to say. Thank you so much to everybody that's been with us. We hope this was a little good of a rallying cry, a good little bit of therapy for everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You hit that bell for notifications to know that when we do upload. If you're new, thank you so much for checking us out. If you did want to join us for a membership, you can by clicking a little join in the bottom. Thanks so much to everybody in the chat. We love you all. In terms of socials, you can find us at BoP Footy on Twitter. Of course, you can find me at GeorgeV_AFC. And current mate, where can they find you?
You can find me at current BoP. They can find CK at CK Football, who will be back soon. I think he's in and out. He's still busy. We'll find the one Willow as well. Make sure you follow the Twitter as well, which George has mentioned, and just keep going, guys. Just keep going. There's nothing wrong. Everything is going to happen as it happens. There's nothing you can do. Just enjoy the ride. Forget everything else.
Absolutely, guys. And thank you so much for sticking with us. Remember, push, push, push. We got this. Back the boys, and we will be there at the end of the season when you have that mentality. So, guys, let's keep it. Let's keep strong. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you guys probably tomorrow for the Newcastle preview.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.